Hi guys. Today we're going to have a special treat here with Mr. Wu. He's going to explain to us the F3. And this particular one is the F3 HP. So I'm sure a lot of you know all about this camera, but Mr. Wu will explain to you the system of the F3. Okay, Mr. Wu.
Okay, so we have the Nikon F3. This one is the Nikon F3 HP, but it started off as the F3 in 1980. Now, the flagship model from Nikon was first the Nikon F, followed by the Nikon F2, and then the F3. In between, they have more or less about a 10-year gap. And after the F3 was the F4, which was autofocus, and after that the F5, and finally the F6. So before I start with the F3, just give me a brief on the Nikon F. Before Nikon F, Nikon's camera was actually a rangefinder, changeable lens rangefinder camera. At that time, it was quite popular for every camera company to have a rangefinder camera. So we have the Contax rangefinder camera, the Leica rangefinder camera. Then the Japanese, we have the Canons, we have the Nikons, and we have a slew of fixed lens rangefinder cameras. So that was the common compact camera, the Banach camera, very easy to take 36 pictures with rapid succession. But there were two things that the rangefinder could not do. One is that you don't actually see the viewfinder image. You only look through a window to give you an approximation of what you get. And because of that, the lens don't focus too near, up to about 1 meter or maybe 70 cm, and that's about it. You can't go nearer because there's no ground glass image for you to view. And at the same time, the focal length of the lens was only up to 135. You couldn't have a lens longer than that unless you add on the reflex attachment, which virtually means that you convert the rangefinder into a SLR, which was a bit slow and cumbersome. So the Japanese cameras were heading in that direction with rangefinder. They tried very hard to do a good camera, but they found that no matter how well they try, people still buy the German Leica camera, even though it's more expensive. So after all this, and then finally in 1954, Leica sprang a surprise. They came out with the M3. It was so surprised, taken by storm. In spite of the high price, it sold very well, more than the Japanese rangefinders. So the Japanese making the rangefinder threw up their hands in the air and said, we give up. They can't compete with the German rangefinder. So what they did is they turned their attention to the next trend, which is emerging, the single lens reflex camera. Although it was started also by the Germans, the Exactas, the Contax, but the Japanese improved on that. So the Nikon F was actually a Nikon rangefinder converted into a SLR. They put a mirror, they put a prism, and that became the SLR. You can actually look at the Nikon F top plate and compare with the Nikon rangefinder top plate. They are identical. The shutter button, the winding lever, the shutter release is the same. So we have the Nikon F, and that took the world by storm. You have a system camera with reflex mirror, with pentaprism. So what you see is what you get, and long lens is not a problem. You still get the whole image. Macro close-up is not a problem, and that became a de facto working professional camera, the Nikon F. Then after 10-year gap, we have the F2, which improved on it. But F and F2 were mechanical cameras. They did not need any battery except for the light meter. The gear, the shutter, all is mechanical. Then came 1980. Nikon F is the first electronic SLR camera, top of the line. At first, the early professional wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. They say mechanical is the way to go. But over the year, this camera proven itself and became a de facto working workhorse of a camera. So you have changeable viewfinder system. So you can have the eye level finder, you have the waist level finder, action finder, and a few more. Then also to cater for different type of specialized lenses, you also have the changeable focusing screen. So focusing screen can be taken out. There are many of them. So you put the focusing screen and then you put the finder in place. Now unlike the F and the F2, F and F2, the metering prism is, the meter is inside the prism. When you change the head, you lose the meter. On the Nikon F3, the photo cell is under this semi-silvered mirror. You see another mirror here. And then there's a photo cell that reads the light pointing down. This one here. There's a photo cell down here. Okay. So, what we have here now, you got the SLR, they got manual shutter speed, and also electronic speed with the A. So this is electronic speed. This is the manual speeds. Then you have the focusing, aperturing. Now, if you like to do the fast shooting, you can always attach your motor drive. With this attached, you can fire at the rate of 5 frames per second. So, yeah, once you got it here, turn it on. Single shot, continuous. So you can fire 36 shots. If you need to, you can put a 250 exposure film magazine here. So one big chunky thing here and you can have 250 shots. So this is a system camera. Of course, you got the whole series of the Nikon lenses. What Nikon did was they maintained the original mount. This is called the Nikon F mount. So from the very first Nikon to the latest one, all the lenses can be used. So you can use the old and new lenses alike. For the flash, you have this coupler, put it on, then you can mount the flash on top. So yeah, here you got the Nikon F. And although it started from the 1980s, today it still works, very reliable.
How many batteries does it use?
The camera used 2 button cell for the shutter and the meter. For the motor, it uses 8 AA. So 8 pieces of AA. So it's very easy to get. You can, this size of battery, you can go anywhere you can get hold of it.
Wow, fantastic. That's amazing, Mr. Wu. We hope to see some more of these coming up. I know you're an expert on Nikon systems, especially vintage film cameras. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Wu.
Welcome.
And next, hopefully we'll have some other cameras. What do you think?
Well, we can do we can do one on the F, the F2, the F3, the F4,
great.
and the F5.
Excellent. And from then on, I think we have some more modern 1980s style Nikon cameras. The F series and the N series. It was, I think, the N series in the United States or outside the US. Okay, so stay tuned, guys, and we'll have a lot more. And thanks for the support. Like and subscribe, fellas. All right. Bye. Bye, Mr. Wu.